you talk about menstrual health and hygiene, you are talking about menstruation. That is the monthly flow of blood within women. Actually, if you do not menstruate, then it will be difficult to give birth. People still at this dispensation stigmatize against people who menstruate. It is interesting, like I said, and so the education must still keep going out. Especially you pick young people who goes to school and they soil themselves in class, and it is another problem.
And we are back again on Let's Share. Last episode, we ended the conversation on menstrual hygiene, the myths and taboos surrounding the topic. And we had a little in-depth conversation on how the challenges have been faced and the interventions that have been made already. Today, we would continue the conversation with Gilbert Ashanti, who is the project lead for Share and the program manager for WaterAid Ghana's Wash and Health Aid. Gilbert, once again, welcome.
Thank you very much, Molly.
So we're just going to start from where we ended in the last episode. You were talking about some of the challenges that is being faced in menstrual hygiene.
Thank you very much. Last episode, we talked about some challenges that we are facing. I made mention of issues of policy. I also talk about the product, issues of the product and how the cost of it around the product. I also talk about issues of taxes. And I would also want to talk about issue of infrastructure, which is also a big issue around menstrual health management. I mean, you go around our country and most organizations have washrooms, but they do not have changing rooms. And even if within these same washrooms, they can fit it with changing rooms where they have separate bins for menstrual health facilities. But I mean, you seem not to get it almost all the places. Few organizations have tried it in some schools, and it has worked, but we have not scaled it up across the country. I visited a particular school one school in northern, specifically Upper East region, where the school children were saying that they are afraid because they know these juju men would come and pick the menstrual parts when it is not well disposed and use it for their sacrifices and so on and so forth. And so usually when they come to school, they do not want to dispose their menstrual parts when they come to school. But if we have the facilities to incinerate these parts, then these children can be comfortable. And because of some of these things, when they are menstruating, some of those young girls don't go to school. They don't go to school because, when they go to school and they want to change, there are no places for them to change. And so it affects their academics and all that. And for me, these are some of the things that we need to look at. There's another issue of the economic challenges. Majority of globally it is known are living under the poverty line, and so that is also having another impact on us when it comes to menstrual health and management. Buying the product, having the facilities and all that requires you to have resources. But if you don't have these resources, then it means that you won't be able to afford it. But like I've said in the previous episode, it is not the fault of any woman to menstruate. It is God, and government should look at it. Recently, one of our chiefs in Bongo, the Bongo Naba, made a call and was saying that the free SHS should complement with free menstrual hygiene materials, because they give them school uniforms, they give them books and other materials. Why don't they add the parts so that these children will become comfortable during their time in school and learn? So these are some of the challenges that we are confronted with when handling menstrual health issues. The last one is information, inadequate information, because we talked about issues of myth in our previous episode, and I was mentioning people send out wrong information. And so for us to be able to deal with the challenges around, it is appropriate that we have the good information there. And the kind of information people are sending around is also a challenge. It looks as if we do not have one concerted information message that we are carrying across. Several messages dotted around, and people have dotted the message here and there. So it is very important that we drown home the message very well, have a quality message, a standardized message that we all rally around as a country and as organizations that are working within the space.
So as you are talking of the information, the messages, what role does these are basic schools or all our school infrastructures, the teachers, everybody involved, and the healthcare workers, what role do they play in supporting menstrual health?
Great. I mean, people can give right information when they have it, when they have the capacity to deliver it. And so sometimes the teacher will be in class and everybody thinks that once you're a teacher, you should know about menstruation. But it's not so. People's capacity needs to be built. People needs to be taught to know, and they can teach it, right? And so for me, one, it requires that we build capacity of teachers to handle in-school children, build capacity, the mentorship groups, the peer educators out of school, so that they also handle out of school, build capacity of parents. I mean, some of these things that we are doing is also good. Young people are listening, parents are listening, and it will help them so that they would know exactly what to do when it comes to menstruation around their adolescents, and even themselves, some of the adults themselves, how they should manage themselves. Because most of them have picked infections through menstruation, during menstruation, because they were not able to keep themselves hygienically well and all that, and a lot of infections here and there. So teachers need to be given the right information, the right education, so that they can also go into the schools and support these young people we have in school, and also those in out of school.
Okay. So coming back to the infection you have mentioned, what is the role of WASH IPC in menstrual hygiene health?
Great. I mean, when you are talking about issues of hygiene, menstrual hygiene is one of the big arm of hygiene. We have the hand hygiene, we have the food hygiene, and then the other hygiene. And menstrual hygiene is one of them. And you cannot decouple hygiene from wash. That is why it is called water, sanitation, and hygiene. So it is one of the hygiene issues, actually. And it requires that we get proper infrastructure in place, proper access to water. Because when somebody is menstruating, the person will bath. That is when you are supposed to bath and bath well. And so you need enough water to bath. So imagine when you are menstruating and there's no water in your house.
That is
right?
a huge issue.
Yes, for the whole week and your water is not flowing, you don't have access to water. You can see what that person would go through. That person might not even decide to go to the public, right? So it is important that we have access to quality water. Then again, when it comes to managing the used products, we talk about incineration. There are specific incinerators that are used in incinerating menstrual pads.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I mean, we need them. We need them to support in institutions, in schools, workplaces, and all that. These things must be there to support our women during menstruation. But sometimes, I mean, we lack some of these things in our institutions, in our schools, in our communities, and here, and which for me, it's an issue. So you cannot take away hygiene from menstruation. They work together. And that is why WaterAid is saying that in our healthcare facilities, we need to make sure that access to water is adequate. Actually, even when you change your pad, for instance, you are menstruating, you get into a healthcare facility or you are in school and you change the pad, it will be appropriate to clean yourself before you put on another pad.
Yeah.
And then you need water, right? You need water. Afterwards, if you are going to dispose your sanitary pad, you need a sanitation facility to be able to do that. And so all these things must be put in place. And that is why you cannot decouple menstruation from hygiene issues, from water issues, and then from sanitation issues.
I see the link. That is a very, very integrated link that cannot work side by side. They have to work together.
Exactly.
And talking about the innovative part, you mentioned we need proper disposal of menstrual hygiene products. What are those innovative processes that can improve menstrual hygiene in Ghana?
Great. So we can talk about it in the area of products, and we can talk about it in the area of education. So in terms of education, I know most of our young people are now hooked on social media and all that. And so can't we use these modern social media to educate people? I know there are a lot of applications that helps in sexual reproductive health rights and all that. Let's Talk and so many of them. So can't we use the same platform in sharing information on menstrual health and hygiene, right? So we can look at how we are digitalizing the information of menstrual health and hygiene. And you know we are in digitalization
Era.
And so let's try.
The Gen Z family.
Exactly. Let's try and see how we are also getting our information through social media, getting our information through digital platforms so that young people...
The right information.
Exactly, the right information through these platforms so that young people can also learn from it. And the other bit is like I said, the infrastructure bit. So for instance, if you go to our facilities, you would know that as part of the SHARE project, what WaterAid seeks to do is to make sure that we equip the facilities, healthcare facilities, with these menstrual health hygiene infrastructures so that any person that goes in there can have access to some of these things. And so for me, if we look at it this way, we would be able to be addressing some of these issues and be tackling some menstrual health and hygiene issues that we have within our country.
Okay. I think we'll take one last one from you and wrap it up. And the question on my mind is, how do we dispel these myths and taboos and educate the communities about menstrual health?
Good. So I have mentioned a couple of them, but I will go back to them. For me, educating means that engaging them or meeting them on the right platforms. Mm-hmm. Meeting them on the right platform. For instance, if I'm a community person and you go and do SBCC materials like social behavior change communication materials, and it is in English and I don't understand, you are not communicating, right?
Yeah.
And so it must be in their language, it must be within their space so that they can appreciate it. And that's why we believe in, I believe in maybe peer education, training their own people for them to train them or talk to them. So that is one of the key things that we can do. We have the community information centers around us all over the places. We can engage it and then make sure that young people themselves, their parents and their caregivers have access to the right information when it comes to menstrual health and hygiene. And by doing that, we can dispel a lot of myths around it. Television is all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. Like we are doing, share some information around it where you can have menstrual pads to access it, the reusable pads where you can get them and all that. We can use television also to talk about that. And some of the hygienic practices that young people are supposed to go through, we can also use some of these. So for me, educating them means that going to their space, making sure that the right information is shared with them. And I know Ghana Health Service is doing a lot when it comes to this. And the SHARE project is sponsoring Ghana Health Service to make sure that they go to each community where we are working to engage with the community members. We have set up the clubs and they are engaging with the clubs to make sure that within the clubs, they are sharing the information. The mentorship sessions, they are going into those sessions. Those that comes into the youth corners, they are sharing the information there. Those that goes to the mainstream, they are sharing the information. So the information is shared in so many platforms. And any young person can just walk into any health center and also access information, the right information around menstruation.
If you're an adolescent out there and you need any information on your sexual reproductive health, do not hesitate to contact She Plus hotline on 0800 001 122 or any of the numbers on your screen. Thank you. What's the biggest myth about menstruation in your community? Leave your answers in the comment section. Thank you once again, Gilbert, and thanks for your time. And that's it for today's episode on menstrual health. Catch us next week as we discuss gender-based violence. Thanks for watching, and this has been Let's Share. Bye.